Hello YouTube, I'm Mr. Melon here and we're going to be doing some music today. So our learning intention for music is to sort different composers and instruments. A composer is somebody who writes a piece of music, and an instrument is something that you use to make music. Let's have a look at our steps to success. I can recall different groups of musical instruments. So we're going to be looking at different musical instruments and what groups they would fall into. Then we're going to sort the instruments into those different groups. And after that, we're going to have a look at some composers and we're going to sort them into different genres. A genre is a type of something. So in this case, a genre would be a type of music. So we're going to be looking at different types of music and which composers would fall into these different genres, these different types. So first of all, I've left a link under this video to help you. So if you click on that link, you'll get a website that looks like this. And what I'm going to do is scroll down. We're going to go for this game in the middle. It says Open Instruments of the Orchestra. So we're going to click that. Here we go. Now, as you can see, there are lots of different types of instruments, and we're going to have a look at the different groups of instruments. So at the top, you've got some in blue, got a blue group. So all of these instruments at the top are part of the same group. Then you've got the green group, the orange group, and the yellow group, and right at the bottom the red group. Let's take a look at the blue group. What group is this? The percussion section. So percussion instruments are played by being struck or shaken. A snare drum is an example of a percussion instrument. So percussion instruments make sounds when you hit them with sticks or your hands. What group have we got next? Let's take a look at the green group. I wonder what group this will be. The brass section. So brass instruments are wind instruments made of metal with a cup-shaped mouthpiece. The tuba is an example of a brass instrument. So brass instruments are metal instruments, but when you blow into them, they will make a sound, and they have a cup-shaped mouthpiece at the top that you blow into. Things like the tuba, the trumpet, or the trombone. How about the orange groups? Let's have a look at these. The woodwind section. Woodwind instruments are made of a long, hollow tube of wood or metal. The sound is made by blowing air through a very thin piece of shaved wood called a reed, or across a small mouthpiece. The clarinet is an example of a woodwind instrument. So a woodwind instrument is a bit like a brass instrument, except instead of blowing into metal, the person playing it blows into a tiny piece of wood, which makes the sound, and it makes a very different sound. If you've heard a flute and a trumpet is a brass instrument and a flute is a woodwind instrument, so you can really hear the difference in those sounds. Okay, which group have we got next? Let's take a look at the yellow group. I wonder what group of this will be. The string section. So string instruments use vibrating strings to make their sound. The violin is an example of a string instrument. Very simple for string instruments. Basically, the vibration of the string is what makes the sound. So things like harps and violins, guitars, cellos, double bass, all of those instruments have strings, and when they vibrate, that's what makes the sound. And right at the front, we have the conductor. The entire orchestra is the conductor. Standing in front of the group, they direct the musicians to play the right thing in the right way at the right time. So the conductor is the leader. He or she tells the orchestra what to play and when to play, a bit like a captain in a sports team. And there is just one instrument left at the side we haven't looked at yet as well, which is the piano. The piano is a stringed keyboard instrument. Its strings are struck by hammers connected to the keys. There are 88 keys on a modern piano, each makes a different note. So when you play a piano, when you touch the key, it's not the key that makes the sound. The key is connected to a string, and the string is connected to a hammer, so when you hit that key, it's moving the hammer to make the sound. Which means we've looked at all the different instruments in the orchestra, all the different groups of instrument in the orchestra, which brings us to your next job. So if you click names, it will tell you the names of all the different instruments you can see. So we've got percussion, timpani, harp, horns, trumpets, trombones, tuba, piano, clarinets, bassoons and double bassoons, piccolo and flutes, oboes, first violins and the second violins, double bass, the violas, the cellos, and right at the front we have the conductor. Now you should have a sheet to open up, which is at the bottom of this video as well, and your sheet should look something like this. So we have four groups at the top: percussion, brass, woodwind, strings. We need to work out what each instrument or which group each instrument would fall in. So trumpet, would that be percussion, brass, woodwind or strings? So use that game to help you. Take a look at that, and I'd like you to see if you can work out what each instrument would fall into. Give that a go, pause the video, have a go at activity 1, then hit play when you're ready. Now hopefully you've filled in all of those boxes and you've matched up the groups to the instruments. So now we're going to have a look at activity 2, which is about composers. So at the top of my sheet I have 4 different types of music: Baroque, classical, romantic and modern. So we're going to go through each of those types of music, and after that then we're going to try and match them to the composers. Okay, let's have a look. So first of all, we need to have a look at different types of music, and the first one on our list says Baroque. So let's go on to Baroque music. So Baroque music was designed to be played on a piano, and it's usually quite simple to play. They usually repeat the same tune over and over again in the song. So when you hear the song, it won't be a different tune. It'll be the same tune repeated over and over again. There's not a lot of feeling or emotion in these songs, and also they use quite loud and sharp sounds. They're usually the same volume, so when they're playing Baroque music, when they're composing it, they don't tend to have really quiet and really loud. They keep the volume the same. So we're going to have a listen to some of these pieces of Baroque music, and hopefully you'll be able to hear how that volume mostly stays the same when they repeat the same tune all the way through. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Let's have a look at Vivaldi, the Four Seasons. So again, you can hear that same tune being repeated, and it's quite loud and striking too. Okay, so that's Baroque music. We're going to have a look at the next one now, which is classical music. So classical music is a bit different because in classical music the volume changes. Sometimes it's loud, but sometimes it might be a bit quiet. It's a lot softer than Baroque music as well, so they use a lot more string instruments to make it sound nice and soft. And a lot of the time you'll hear different tunes being played through the song. So rather than playing the same tune over and over again, with classical music I'll play one tune, then I'll play a completely different tune. So hopefully we can have a listen to some of these. So let's have a look at Beethoven. Let's have a listen to this. It's very, very quiet, isn't it? It's very soft. Hopefully you can hear as well. There are lots of different tunes being played through the song as well, but it's really soft. That was really quiet. Let's try the next one. Let's have a look at Mozart. So hopefully you can hear it was quiet, but it's getting a bit louder, so the volume's changing quite a lot in the music. So that was classical music. Let's move on to romantic music. Now I know what you're thinking, romantic music sounds like it's all going to be about love, but it's not. Actually, romantic music means something completely different. Romantic music is where more instruments are playing different things. It sounds a lot more grand and a lot bigger, and it has a lot more feeling than Baroque music did. And you might also hear that the tempo and the speed of the music changes, so it might start off quite fast and then turn quite slow, or the other way around. So let's have a look at some of these pieces of romantic music. Let's have a listen to this one, and hopefully you'll be able to hear how it's a lot more grand and there are lots more instruments. It sounds really big. There are lots of instruments playing lots of different things. So it's gone very loud and very quiet as well, a bit like the classical music did. Hopefully you heard the difference between the romantic music and the classical and baroque music. It's a lot bigger, a lot more grand as well. Let's see if we can find another piece of music to listen to. Which one should we have a go at? Let's have a listen to some Tchaikovsky. This might be very quiet. There we go. So that was romantic music. So the next one is going to be modern music. Modern music is different still. It's a lot more jazzy. Sometimes the notes are put together in strange ways, so the music might sound a bit strange. And again, a bit like romantic music, the instruments play different things. So let's have a listen. Wow. God, that's quite loud. Sounds a bit like Star Wars. So with modern music, you might be able to hear that all the instruments seem to be doing different things. So lots of the other types of music, most of the instruments played the same notes, or they played very similar notes. But with modern music, the instruments play completely different things all at the same time. So it sounds a bit strange. So those are 4 different types of music from a long time ago. But don't worry, if you listen to a piece of music, we're not going to ask you to tell us what kind of music it is. We just went through that just so we know what these words mean. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our sheet, and we're going to have a go at matching some of these types of music to the composers. Don't worry, because there's a game on the website on the link that I've given you, which will help us to tell us who these composers are and what types of music they composed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the same website up as before, and I'm going to show you what game to use to help you answer the questions and finish the sheet. So we're going to go back to the website that I left you under the video, and this time we're going to go onto the game next to it, which is called Explore the Composer Timeline. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to look at the composers. Let's have a look at the first sheet. Who was the first composer on the list? It was a man called Purcell. So we're going to go back to the game. I'm looking for the name Purcell. There it is. I'm just going to tap or click it. Musical era, or the genre, Baroque. Can you see that under the years? So what we're going to do is going to go back to the sheet. I'm going to write down under the genre, I'm going to write Baroque. Now I'd like you guys to have a go at scrolling down through the timeline and see if you can find out what era or what genres the other composers on the list were from. So there's Vivaldi, so you would click on Vivaldi, go to the sheet, and then find out what genre he was on, or did, and then write it into the box. You're also going to look at Mozart, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky and Gershwin. So we'll go back to the link. So there's Vivaldi. You can click or tap on it and hopefully that will tell you what genre he composed for. I hope you enjoy that then, Year 2, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. I look forward to seeing how you get on. Bye for now.